The Adams County Board of Creating Entrepreneurial Opportunities has appointed a new facilitator. Curtis Sethaler has been appointed to that position. Sethaler is set to guide the upcoming 2024-2025 class of seniors in the high school entrepreneurship program. Sethaler brings a welcome amount of experience to the team, as he has served as the Director of Young Life since 2016, as well as the co-founder and co-owner of the Quincy Axe Company and Experience Quincy.
I think one of my just favorite things overall is seeing people step into their potential, seeing them become the people that, a lot of times on the outside, we know what someone can be, and that applies to students, that applies to adults. So across the board, I love seeing people reach their potential and step into that. And I think Adams County CEO is already doing that in our community.
For more information about Sethaler and creating entrepreneurial opportunities of Adams County program, head to WGEM.com.